together. We'll lose, and we'll do that together too.
How's it going, guys? It's Cyrus, and boy, I am unbelievably excited to be finally doing my most anticipated showcase that I've been looking forward to ever since I started making custom minifigures last year, the Avengers Infinity War showcase. Dude, I have been waiting for such a long time to say this on my channel, and as you can expect, this project was a big deal to me, and it really meant a lot that I had to finish all the figures that I wanted to make, including adding one last minute. So, yeah, I'm really happy and proud of all my figures. I feel like these are my best figures to date, all of them included, and all I can say about them right now is that most of them were all 100% hand painted by me, but I'll get more into that later. Guys, I'm not going to waste any more time because I'm just super excited to just start shooting this showcase and just finish this off once and for all, and hopefully probably do the same thing next year. So yeah, without further ado, let's finally get into this big showcase. And you might notice, guys, that Thanos is actually missing one Infinity Stone from the Infinity Gauntlet, if you can tell in the back. And there's a special reason for that, and the reason will be said later on in the showcase once the skit is over. And yeah, let's continue on with this showcase, and let's start off with my first minifigure. Now, starting off with the man who started it all, Iron Man. So for my second Iron Man suit that I made on my channel, I decided to make this one really special. What I decided to do is not use any armor piece at all and just sculpt onto the arms and onto the chest. As you can tell, if I turn it to the side, you're going to see that it's a little bit more bulkier on the top portion of the chest to show that his armor is a little bit more bulky there. And on his arms, you can see the same thing as well, and I painted the details on. For the helmet, I decided to use a regular Iron Man helmet, but use some brasso to pretty much remove some design on top of the helmet, onto the gold parts, and I sanded the sides of the Iron Man helmet to make sure that it was a little bit more skinnier, and I actually sculpted into the ear. Well, they're not really ears, but these little bits on his side of the helmet, and sculpted in and painted the design that was actually there, because there's no longer like this circular portion there anymore. It's more of like the gold is bleeding onto that outer part of the helmet. Over here, I sanded down the little bits over here down to make it more smooth of a helmet, and you can tell at the back I decided to pretty much base this entire armor detail off the Lego one that I saw from a couple of people's reviews of the Lego Infinity War sets. I painted all of this in a dark yet somewhat light of a metallic red color, and I added some red highlights here and there to show the figure and to pretty much complement the figure as I went along. I painted in the eyes a little bit light of blue to look like it was glowing, as well as the arc reactor and the tinier arc reactors that are surrounding the rest of his armor. Now for Tony's head, I decided to take my Ezra Miller Flash head and put it on here and pretty much paint the design on there and make the skin tone a little bit more prominent here and there. So I did that, and I painted it like that mainly because I didn't want to because in the back, if I had a regular Tony Stark head, it would show that his head is more of the flesh color, and over here you can tell it's a lot more red and more of a face mask. You can barely tell, but I definitely painted in the HUD over there. As you can see, when Tony's in his suit, he can be able to talk to his AI, and it's painted in blue and some white detailing on top of the Iron Man armor to look like he's talking to somebody in the suit. And because I wasn't actually going to put that Flash head on him forever, that was just there for the helmet portion if I ever wanted to put it with his helmet deployed, I decided to paint a Superman hairpiece, a really dark brown, and then get a regular Tony Stark hairpiece with an aggressive facial expression to make him look like he's been through a lot, which in this movie he definitely will be reflecting on. I also decided not to do any of the wings that he's shown to have in the movie to make him look like the Wasp almost, and no gauntlets, no 3D gauntlets like he does show in one of the commercials, mainly because I didn't have time to do so, and I felt like it didn't really matter. An Iron Man suit I wanted to make it look just as simplistic as possible, but a little bit more detailed, and not try to incorporate unnecessary designs, because I felt like those were a little bit unnecessary and weird, so I decided not to include them at all. Now, Doctor Strange was actually a figure that I finished almost 2 years ago, back when his movie came out in 2016. The problem was I never had the channel. I never was doing Lego showcases up until this point back in March of 2017, so I never got around to showcasing him. But after a while, when I realized he was going to be wearing the same suit in Infinity War, I decided to just pretty much fix him up a little bit, which is what I did. Based off of MGF's Doctor Strange, I decided to use one of these capes that I got from CapeMadness.com because I felt like it was perfect for Doctor Strange, along with this collar piece to represent the Cloak of Levitation. Along with the same idea he used, because I was inspired by his, I made the necklace 3D using electrical tape for the little eye of Agamotto there, and some fabric glued onto his neck. Now for his torso, I painted it in a really dark blue color. I didn't want to use fabric because I'm not really good at painting on fabric, so I decided to keep it just a regular torso, smooth and flat with plastic. These Mystic pieces that Doctor Strange does possess are from the actual Lego set that I got out that year, and I thought I'd carry them over and bring them here because I thought they looked cool. The faces from the Lego face as well, I just painted it up in a darker brown color. You can't really tell because there was some white parts there that I didn't like, and I always thought this really looked good on him. And for his skirt, the skirt was made using a little fabric coat that I got from Cape Madness as well. The skirt piece can be found on their website, and that other skirt little piece that's underneath that layer is actually made of electrical tape, mainly because I didn't have the fabric to do so and make another one that would be wrapping around. For the cloak, I painted up this checker design that I saw from the back of one of the trailers. And finally, to show on Doctor Strange on his torso, these are electrical tapes wrapped all the way around his torso to show that he has some fabric, because it's not actually fabric, it's just electrical tape painted in a dark umber color. And I used some little piece of electrical tape pretty much to look like it was fabric. And you're going to be seeing a lot of electrical tape on most of my figures, especially Black Widow, which is going to be in a couple of minutes. And to top it all off, I gave Doctor Strange a Superman hairpiece painted in a dark brown that I used for Tony Stark with some gray sideburns to show that he's a lot more different from that hairpiece. So yeah, there's Doctor Strange, and I'm really glad to finally be showing him off. Now the Iron Spider is a really interesting figure that I have to describe right here, mainly because I finished him last year after watching Spider-Man Homecoming, and I saw that Tony actually made him this new suit. Upon seeing that suit in the movie, I came home and immediately started working on it with the reference I was able to gather. So I'm really glad that he wears this in Infinity War, because I guess you could say I started working on this figure a year ago before the trailer came out. I pretty much did the same thing with Iron Man and painted the entire suit in a really dark pinkish red, metallic red color to show that this is more of an Iron Man suit than a Spider-Man suit. Spider, I painted around with the metallic black color for the black as well, and I lined it all up with some royal gold paint. And the paint I use is metallic from Folk Art. You can probably get them at Walmart, so just saying that as well. The lines, I didn't want to paint them in black because I thought those are a little bit too distracting for this Spider-Man, so I decided to paint the lines that are wrapping around his armor in a dark to scan color to make it look a little bit more better, because I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the black, wrapping it in black lines would look a little bit more weird and more popping, and it would just look like a mess in my opinion. The back I had to wing with some reference that I saw from the trailer. I thought I got a pretty decent amount of accuracy when it comes to the back. I don't know, maybe it might look a little bit different as well. And also, speaking of the back, you can also notice that I did not add this Iron Spider arms, and that was a final decision that I decided to make, mainly because we haven't seen them yet, and if I see him in the movie, then yeah, definitely I will add him in the future, probably show it in another showcase video, maybe in the spin-off one that I'll talk about more later near the end of the video. And his web shooters are actually made of electrical tape, which I used and glued onto his wrist to make it look like web shooters. The problem is that I now realize that his web shooters are actually a little bit more of a gold color than black. Oh, I also forgot that on his eyes, I painted them all in a metallic white and wrapped it around in a light blue color, kind of like the same color as Tony Stark's eyes for this Iron Man helmet, to make it look like his eyes were glowing, because in one of the trailers his eyes are a little bit more blue, so I wanted to incorporate that feature onto Spider-Man, mainly because this is pretty much like an Iron Man suit to Peter. So yeah, I'm really happy that you guys finally see this figure, and I hope you guys like it. Now, Captain America, or Nomad, or whatever he likes to be called now, was a very simple figure to make, and one of the figures that I finished last minute. Now, for his hair, I used this weird hair. I think it's a Bruce Wayne hair. I don't know. I just used this weird hair piece that I found in one of my little desks and painted it up in a nougat color, or my mistake, nutmeg color, as well as the beard. I repainted the face mainly and kept the eyes and the eyebrows because I thought they were a good aggressive facial expression. And I toned down the beard a little bit because it's not as bushy as Logan's, and I decided not to sculpt it as well because, like I said, it's not that bushy. Now for his torso, I used the Lego torso, this is the only figure that I've used Lego parts on. I've used the original Lego head and the original Lego torso. The torso, I made the abdomen a little bit more darker by putting a black wash over it. As you can see, some little speckles of black on it. I painted the star in a more darker color, as well as the blue on his suit a little bit more darker. Now for his shields, I made them entirely out of electrical tape. As a base, you can tell in the back a little bit more. Those are actually from the actual Lego set. Those are gauntlets cut up in half, so he can hold them like that, and they're made from electrical tape because I wanted to give him that special curve, and they're glued on so tight so they're not going to be able to come off. On his gauntlets, I painted this detail that I've seen in the trailers, and I screenshotted that, and I just painted that up, which is made from a regular matte black color, silver color, some light gray, and some metallic black as well, as you can see shining right now. His legs are all painted the same dark color as I painted in the regular base color for Captain America, and I painted some red lines going down, and his boots are super simplistic that I literally just took them from my old Captain America figure that I never got to showcase. I didn't add the Avenger patches because he does not have them there. On his arms, I used flesh color arms because his sleeves are exposed in the movie, and I use electrical tape to represent that he's pulling up his sleeves so he can, that way it'll look a lot more better. Now for the strap on his torso is entirely made out of electrical tape painted in a dark brown color, laced with a royal gold color with some buckles taped and glued onto the side. Now you can tell that a little bit of the paint is scraping off, but honestly I feel like that adds a little bit more of a realistic battle damage look to Captain America, especially since now that's how he looks like in the movie. And yeah, I just think my main concern at this point is that I really hope he doesn't die. Black Widow was one of the first figures I actually started on back in February to finish this project. Now, I finished most of her up and then stopped because I did not know what I was going to do with the hairpiece. So I'm just going to address that first. That hairpiece is actually from the original Lego sets. All I did was sand off the sides to the point where little parts that extended like outwards, I sanded them completely off and sculpted on it. I got this idea from this Instagram user on Instagram called Benson Bone, which I'll leave his Instagram account in the description so you guys can follow him if you want, because he posts a lot more Infinity War stuff there. So yeah, I give him a shout out because I really like the idea that he had, because it was sculpted, and you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, but the little parts I sanded to make it look a little bit more realistic, to make it match with the actual hairpiece. I didn't do a really good job because I kind of messed up a little bit, but either way, it's still there, and I'm really proud of this hairpiece either way. The face is entirely painted by me, and which was a really hard thing to do. I did realize the eyebrow color is a little bit off, and it's not the one that she has in the movie, but it doesn't really matter because I'm really proud of this face because of how it just looks super realistic to how Scarlett Johansson looks like in the movie. Now the torso, remember when I said in the Death Cure video that I was going to be incorporating a new thing to my female minifigures, which is the curved torso. I sanded off the curved this torso and made it curvy a little bit so I can extend these little straps that she has on her torso on the vest, that gray vest that she has. And no, it's not green like a lot of people have painted it like that. It's more of a gray color, so I decided to do it like that, and they extend all the way, wrapping all the way around her torso up to the back. Pack that is the metallic gray pack that is glued onto her back, I did not mean for that to rhyme, is painted with a gunmetal gray color and made entirely out of 3 or 4 layers of electrical tape, which is glued on down there. Her arms, you can barely tell, but those were more made out of electrical tape. I put on electrical tape straps on there, buckles, and some shoulder pads as well. You can't really tell because of the lighting and how dark a little bit of it is. Now the legs, I didn't put a strap running around her waist, mainly because I didn't think it was a big deal. I sanded them down so much to the point where I could glue on the electrical tape straps that are on her legs, so that way if I were to move the figures, the straps wouldn't be coming off because I glued them on very tight, and they wouldn't intervene with the whole moving portion of the figure where it's moving up and down. So there's that. I painted the boots in a darker black matte color, and with the lacing around it being a gunmetal metallic color. So yeah, there's Black Widow. You can also tell that I didn't give her staff, mainly because, like I said, I was running out of time making these figures, and I didn't have time to pull out a staff out of nowhere to make a weapon for her. Now, I'm sure the biggest question you guys have on your mind is, why did I redo Black Panther? And that was simply because I wanted to improve upon the one from the previous showcase back in February. You can tell that in my last showcase video that I didn't like how my Black Panther looked like, mainly because the helmet was the biggest issue I had with it. I could redo all of that, it was just the helmet. So I decided to inspire most of this figure off MGF's Black Panther figure, and I think I pretty much did a good job. And what I wanted to do differently was to sand down the ears a little bit more so it didn't look like a Batman helmet, and I sanded inside of the ears to make it look like these little bits that are protruding out a little bit more, make it look a lot more better. Another 3D feature I decided to add was the little necklace that he has on, the teeth or whatever it is, but I made all of that out of electrical tape and painted that in a metal, like sterling silver color, so that way it looks a little bit more better. Because like I said, I wanted to do that with Killmonger and Black Panther the last showcase. The problem is I just didn't know how until I barely discovered that I can use electrical tape and cut them up into little triangular pieces to do so. So yeah, not a lot to show with Black Panther, but painting his legs was a little bit more tricky, mainly because of the little teeth or claws or whatever that are on his foot. Wrapping that around was a little bit difficult because I had to make sure they all looked symmetrical to each other. Either way, I really hope you guys enjoy this Black Panther figure, and hope that you really like it as well. One more thing I decided to tell you guys is that I actually sculpted in the eyes to make it look a little bit more better, not have his eyes exposed. and as well as I sculpted the nose to make him look a little bit more like a panther, if that makes any sense. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this new and improved Black Panther figure instead of the other one that I made back in February. Now, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, or White Wolf, or whatever you want to call him, was one of the more simple figures to make. Now, the challenging part was definitely the arm, because I had to spray paint that and not paint it this time. I used a spray can that I got from Walmart, spray painted it in a metallic silver color to make it look a little bit more better, using some black lines to show his metal arm, and putting some gold detail as well, because it's no longer just some regular metal arm. It has some vibranium features in there, and I think it looks a little bit more special than the other Winter Soldiers that I made in the past. Gun, I have no idea what it's called. All I did was glue a scope onto it, glue the stock, a really thick stock that came with the gun as well, that was upside down of this gun. His hand, I forgot to mention, is actually painted in a silver color with the lines wrapping around as well. In order to make sure that the paint would not scrape off from there, I used some of the glue that I used on most of my figures and covered it, so that way from now on, if I want to put any attachments onto the hand, it's not going to scrape off any of the paint. I decided to make the White Wolf or Winter Soldier or whatever in a blue, his suit in a blue color, because that's how it looked like to me at first, and I was really worried that it wouldn't be blue and it was more of a black, but after some recent trailers it does show that yes, it is indeed blue. I painted down the pants in a dark brown color. Now for his shoulder pads, I made them out of electrical tape and put some buckles on there as well, and painted them in a dark brown color, wrapping around with a lighter brown color as well. The little buttons on his vest are actually made of electrical tape, which are tiny little pieces cut up and then eventually glued onto the little figure. I cannot mess up absolutely whatsoever on those, otherwise I was gonna have to scrap this torso and redo it as well. The face is actually 100% hand painted by me, except for the eyes. What I did to do this beard effect, which is I took some black paint, smudged it onto there, and used my hand and tapped around the head to form it into this shape and to make it look a little bit more messy and a mesh type of beard. This hairpiece I eventually had to use because I wanted to use a different one, Luke Skywalker hairpiece from one of the new Star Wars sets, which I wanted to get. Unfortunately though, I'm not spending that much money just to get a stupid little hairpiece. So even though it is not really accurate to what a lot of people else are using, I still thought it was okay. So hopefully you guys won't really mind with that. And either way, I still really love this figure, and I hope you guys do as well. Now, half of Falcon was made last year, because when I first bought the Civil War sets, I decided to do my own custom version of them and painted everything that you see here. So the entire figure was made a couple years ago. All I did was add a couple new things new to it, which include these little pistols, which I know they're not accurate to the Uzis he has in the movie, but I thought I'd add them in just to show off. And then for his face, I painted down this little beard onto that wraps around to his head. And I decided to paint in the goggles more of a gray color and not the light gray that originally was there. And I used this little Finn hairpiece as well because I thought it worked just perfectly fine. I added some black glove tops made out of electrical tape. And for the wings, Harry made all this. This is the main portion that I decided to give credit to Harry, because Harry did all this. Similar to what Harry did to Vulture last year, he did all of these wings and actually sculpted the jetpack as well, which was actually a really big surprise to me because I didn't think Harry was able to do so. And it turns out I've learned that Harry's a lot better at sculpting than I am. And what he did was cut out the design that he wanted to do for Falcon, and all I did was just paint on this design as well. And I painted it with a dark red Tuscan color, light gray color underneath all that, and added some red highlights to make it pop a little bit more. So yeah, Falcon was a little bit more easier to do when it came to the figure. With the wing portion of the figure, that's all Harry. So if you guys wanted to know, that's not me. Harry's pretty much the dude that makes all the attachments for the Avengers. So yeah, there's Falcon. Scarlet Witch was really simple to make, but a little bit more difficult when it came to making her trench coat. Now the hair, I didn't decide not to paint because I wanted to put this back in my Civil War box, because she wears the same suit from Civil War, so there was really no need to try to recreate a new entirely one, and just to improve upon the one I made about 2 years ago. Now her face is from the Avengers set, but it's actually Black Widow's face. So what I decided to do was erase the mouth and paint my own. The problem was I really did not like how the original mouth turned out. You can probably see in some older footage in the April Fool's video that if you pause this at a slight frame, you can tell that in that video her mouth was a little bit more closed, and I really did not like how that looked. So in the end, I decided to repaint back the design that was already there from the actual Black Widow face from that one set that I bought for Infinity War. The trench coat was a Cape Madness trench coat that I cut up, and unfortunately though I did mess up. As you can tell on the back, there are parts exposing the torso, and mainly because of this hair. I have no idea how I was going to be able to do though. I did my best to cut up the trench coat so the hair would fit as well as along with the arms. But after all, I don't think I did it 100% correctly. I'll probably have to order a new one just to make it look a little bit more better in the future. To represent her Scarlet or weird abilities that she has in the movie, I used some regular red studs with some pink plates right there to show that she is using her powers to attack somebody. To add some detail into the trench coat, I decided to paint on the arms and paint some parts and patches into a darker brown color, and painted that as well as on the trench coat, which you can kind of tell it's more of a maroon color here and there. And on her torso, I decided to add some red highlights as well to show that some of the lines were a little bit more of a lighter red. Scarlet Witch wasn't really a difficult figure to make, but she definitely was a little bit more challenging when it came to the trench coat. Oh yeah, also I decided to paint in some little lines onto her in the middle of her torso to make it look a lot more better. And I also, for Vision, I was really considering of using a sand green base color for everything on Vision, but I decided against it in the end to just use a regular dark green color because I just thought it looked a little bit more better in my opinion. For Vision, I decided to paint in the detail that I've seen on his torso and pretty much copy whatever detail was on the original Lego figure onto this darker green torso. And that applies to all the other parts, which includes the legs as well. On the arms, I painted entirely myself using some gray lines and some little bit more of a pink magenta color to add the parts to make it look a little bit more closer to the color of his head. Speaking of which, his head is actually painted in a really light metallic green color, which is mixed with blue, white, and metallic green, which wraps around the entirety of his head. Now his head I painted in the mind gem there, which Thanos might get his hands on later in the video if you guys pay attention. And I painted up his boots as well in that magenta color and added some blue for the little round parts of his leg as well. And for his cape, it's made out of paper. I didn't really want to do anything fancy with it and just paint on the same design, so I just looked at MGF's and based it off of his. So there's his credit, and I painted that using some of a khaki color, the royal gold for the base color, and a mixture of red and brown for the more darker color here and there. I painted on all this detail and you can barely tell, but there's some gray lines. If I tilt it this way, you can tell some gray lines going here and there to show his synthetic vibranium body. So yeah, Vision was a little bit more simple, not gonna lie. He was definitely a lot more simple than making Scarlet Witch. Now at first I didn't know if I was gonna add War Machine into the video, mainly because they showed his suit really late into the game and I didn't know how I was gonna be able to make it until I realized that, you know what, I had to add Rhodey in his new Infinity War suit because it just wouldn't make sense if I didn't. So what I did was decide to paint Rhodey all in a matte black color and not a metallic color because I just thought it would look a little bit more better, especially with the more silver and gunmetal gray highlights that I've added around the suit. There's arc reactors painted here and there, and as you can tell, I've used some Starlight silver color, some silver colors onto his suit, some gunmetal gray colors onto his suit, and I've added tiny little arc reactors alongside the suit as well, glowing in red with some white to show that it's glowing. Now I do gotta say though that the helmet is entirely painted, and it was actually an Iron Man helmet before and it was red. So what I had to do was just spray paint the faceplate using the same thing I did for Bucky on his arm, spray paint it in a silver color and paint on the detail there. His eyes, I painted them all in red, and I completely forgot to put in the white detail, and I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't really bother me as much, but it does look a tiny bit inconsistent with the arc reactors, how they're all glowing white with some red surrounding them. So maybe I might do that in the future, who knows. Now for the back, I painted everything all in a matte black color, and I've used some light gray to pretty much show that, to highlight the details, to expose a little bit more, whereas if I was just painting it in a regular dark black color, you wouldn't really show on the camera. I used this extra armor piece that I found from one of my Batman vs Superman sets, and I knew I was just gonna take off the armored Batman armor, and I sanded down. I completely destroyed the armor, and specifically the back and the shoulders, to pretty much add my own details onto here. These little 3D bits that are extending off on the side of the armor are actually made out of 4 layers of electrical tape cut into a symmetrical, so they would look a little bit more better on War Machine. And I painted them up in a matte black color, outlined them with light gray and gunmetal as well. And I pretty much randomized the design on Rhodey's suit because I didn't know how it would look like. Yeah, you could definitely tell that on the right side from the Civil War variant of Rhodey that I made about 2 years ago. I definitely made some improvements with this new one by sanding. You can tell how much I've done to the armor to make it look the way it is in this new Infinity War. Now, as also you can tell that this Rhodey has a gun attached to him which I didn't know how I was going to be able to do that because in all the promotional material we've seen Rhodey in, it doesn't look like he has a gun at all in the movie, so I didn't know what to do. Decided just to make the armor and not add anything special onto him, as well as I did with Iron Man and not add the wings or the gauntlets as well. Since I didn't have a lot of reference to go off of, I do want to give a shout out to Wavy Films because I saw his Rhodey and decided that I would base my entire figure off of that one. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the description and to his Instagram as well, so you guys can go check him out. So yeah, there's Rhodey, guys. Forgot one final detail to add was that I actually did put a Don Cheadle. I painted up a Don Cheadle head. I did add the HUD as well, like I did with Iron Man, except that this time it's painted up in a green color. You can barely tell, but it's there, and you can also see the red bleeding in there from the original color that it was before I spray painted it. So yeah, finally, yeah, there's Rhodey. All right, now with Shrek, I mean Hulk. Yeah, Hulk. I wanted to make a brand new Hulk figure because after I saw Thor Ragnarok and realized that he was just gonna be wearing some black pants in Infinity War, and especially after seeing that after credit scene, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. I took my old Age of Ultron Hulk and sculpted in the arms on his side, so there was no more holes there. But you can tell that it's a little bit rough, mainly because I did the sculpting. Like I said in the Falcon portion of this video, Harry's a lot more better at sculpting than me. So what I did for the pants, as you can tell, they're a little bit like rough. Mainly because I made them out of electrical tape to show that his pants are a little bit more ragged and ruffly and withered. I painted the entire figure in an olive green color to make it pop a little bit more with a more lighter green, and added a black wash to it as well. Harry sanded down the sides of the hairpiece, so this is pretty much his entire figure, with the exception of the pants and the sculpted sides of the arms. He sanded down the hairpiece to make it a little bit more look more like Hulk's kind of mohawk he does have in the movie. But yeah, there's not a lot going on with Hulk. Just painted on this olive green color onto Hulk and did this, and then made the electrical tape pants and then sculpted in the sides of the arm. So yeah, there's Hulk. Not a lot going on with him. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering, why did I make Hawkeye? Simply because I decided, this is the figure that I added last minute that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. I added him last minute because I wanted to include all the original Avengers from the first movie, so he's here. So I guess to describe what I did with him was, I took my Hawkeye that I got from the Civil War set, painted that in a darker purple, painted the light purple and a dark purple, so that way it looks a little bit more realistic. Painted the arms, and I used the flesh colored arm and painted black onto it, and the sleeves rolled up. And for his head, I used the regular Hawkeye head that I used on my other Civil War Hawkeye, and I just painted it. I painted in a little like brow, or this little mark in between his eyebrows, to show that he's a little bit more aggressive or old. I wanted to paint a little bit more detail onto him as well. It's just that it just looked weird. Now for his hair, I took a regular sleepy hair piece and I completely sanded off the sides to make it look more like a mohawk, and I painted in the hair color to make it look like he does have a little bit of hair on his side, but not so much. So I painted, after doing all that, I painted the actual mohawk into a dark brown color. Now for his bow, I took my Green Arrow bow from the CW figure and put a brown one there, mainly because I'm having a little bit of issue with the CW series arrow right now, and which is why I decided to take this bow from the Green Arrow figure, because I'm not really into that show anymore, and it's kind of taking me off. More on that in a future video. Now for his arrow, I actually took this magic wand piece and cut up the two stars. That it was originally a magic wand that was shaped as a star. I cut off the two bits at the two bits next to the top piece to make it look like an arrow. And for his quiver, I took it out of a mystery blind bag and painted the quiver into the way I wanted to. No design onto that portion of the neck brace, and just painted up a design that I saw from one of the Civil War parts, and just painted the design from what I saw on the back of the torso, because his quiver is actually printed onto the back of the torso. There's Hawkeye. Not a lot of reference for him, but I decided to include him because, you know, he's an OG Avenger, so there's Hawkeye. Thor was a really simple figure to make, and that was mainly because I got started on him as soon as I finished watching Thor Ragnarok a couple months ago. I went back and tried to see if there was any leaked scenes from the after credit scene at the end of the movie where it showed Thor in his Infinity War costume along with Loki. And I pretty much based this entirely off a couple of screenshots and then a couple of the magazines that he's shown to be wearing this costume. After a while, Hot Toys finally released their own Thor from the movie, and it showed that he had chainmail arms and the cape. I only decided to keep the cape and not do the chainmail arms because I thought that having his arms exposed and painting on the muscle, which I did right there, would look a lot more better. Now, I'm going to address the elephant in the room right now, which is the Stormbreaker hammer. So what I did was get a regular brown rod piece, and I cut up this axe piece as well from made of plastic, glued it on, and then I got one of those little tiny bricks and sanded it down really hard, and then glued it onto there, and then sculpted onto it to make it look like it was one entire piece, using some clay to wrap around to look like roots coming across the axe. And then I painted it up in a silver color, and then did some black details onto it and some gunmetal gray on both sides. The head and the hair are completely from the Thor Ragnarok figure, except I added the eye patch this time and the scar because Thor finally got his eye cut off by the end of the movie, and he had an eye patch to make himself look like that. I used the same hair piece because there really is no difference. So the other Thor figure that I have right now has the helmet, the gladiator helmet on from the last showcase from Thor. The cape, I just took a regular cape, painted it up red, and then painted this part red and added the black parts because that's how it looks like in the movie. His arms, I spent at least an entire night working on them because I wanted to make them as 3D looking as possible. You can barely tell, but at first I painted on the little portion of the arm with some gunmetal for the little gauntlets on him. Then I put electrical tape for the gauntlet right there for the 3D gauntlet, and then used some electrical tape for the brown straps there, so that way it looked a lot better. And for his arms, I painted them up the muscle arms based on a design that I completely forgot about. I'll put a link in the description if I end up remembering it, or just put a little caption telling where I got the idea from. So I painted the entire Thor figure when it came to his hair in a nougat color, and then I did on the neck, I put in the some silver wrapping around the neck to show like it's one piece on his torso. For his torso, I painted up in a gunmetal color and not a darker color because I just thought it would look good like that. And then made the little buttons or these little circles, round pieces on his torso black, and I did the same thing for the back, which I based this entire design off the Lego design as well. Now for his legs, they're just really simple. You can't really tell, so I'm not even gonna bother to explain them as much. So yeah, really hope you guys like it. Now Loki's completely the same from the Thor Ragnarok figure. All I did was just give him a new hairpiece and switch out the head. So pretty much what I did, the only thing I did differently was this time was make the daggers different. I took some regular Lego katanas, cut them up to be a little bit shorter to look like daggers, and then I painted the wrists or the wrist guards in blue, and then put some little electrical tape right there and little parts right there so that he can hold it like that. I made the cape a darker green this time because last time it was a little bit more lighter, and then I made sure that I made a new hairpiece as well, which I wanted to use this hairpiece for the original helmet piece that I came with a while ago. I'm not using this helmet a lot in the showcase, and mainly because the hairpiece is inaccurate and it doesn't look like he's going to be wearing this hairpiece a lot in the movie. So I decided that instead of having this, I would just have an entirely new hairpiece, which is just a regular Wonder Woman hairpiece that I got last minute, that I actually used for my Jessica Jones in the summer of last year, in 2017, and just put it on him and gave Jessica Jones a new hairpiece, which you'll never see because I just liked it how it looks better on Loki right here. And I gave him this worried facial expression because in the movie, it looks like Loki is going to have a lot of screen time, and the screen time he does get, he looks like he's terrified for his life. So if you want to have a more accurate description of this Loki figure, go watch my Thor Ragnarok video to see how Loki looked like a lot more there. Now Star-Lord is a figure that I did half of, and you've pretty much seen this figure back in my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 showcase last year in May. So what I did differently this time was give him a completely different torso and redid the legs because the leg paint was scraping off, and I decided to paint him in a more brown color. So what I did here was just use a regular Lego dark red torso and painted up the jacket design zipped up. I didn't want to use a Cape Madness coat, mainly because I didn't have one, so I just stuck to the easier plan and just painted on there, which was a little bit more easier. I did the same thing on the back as well, painted the details there. These new pair of arms are painted right there, and the closed jacket that I ended up giving Star-Lord a couple months ago is in the case and will not be used because I decided to just keep this for the regular Star-Lord. The head or the helmet is completely the same. Nothing really changed a lot with it except that I painted it on a gunmetal color to make it look a lot more better and realistic, and the hair is painted a more accurate color this time. Like I said, the nutmeg color that I've been using a lot for a lot of my figures now. One of the new parts of this figure though is this new head. I decided not to spend a lot of money on just a new Star-Lord head and just to find a good one, and just to paint the one I already had previously. So what I did was painted the mustache in the nougat color, and then painted the hair in that nougat color, and did the sideburns shape like that, and redid the eyebrows to make it look like the new Owen head from the Jurassic World sets, which looks a lot more better for Star-Lord. And yeah, the blasters are the same and painted in a gunmetal color with some silver parts on there and gold parts as well. But yeah, not a lot going on with Star-Lord. It's pretty much the same thing as from Volume 2, just with a new jacket painted up in those details, and then a new face and head, and that is it. If you want a more detailed description of how Gamora was made, go check out the Guardians video that I made last year, so you guys can go check out what I did. The only thing I added new this time was the legs because I didn't like how it looked like. What I did was painted the legs in a darker blue this time, and then painted the boots a little bit more black color with some gray lacing on there. and some gray knee pads. The sword I did differently was this time I used a regular katana and then cut the katana off and just kept the handle, and then got some plastic paint, spray painted in a silver color and cut it in this shape that Gamora used her sword in, and glued it onto there. You can see on these little parts that are like on near where the katana in the holster or the handle are, you can see that the glue is actually kind of messy, and that's how it looked like after the spray painting it. This head is the same. Like I said, the rest of the figure is the same, except that I gave it it's a more aggressive facial expression from the one I used back in May. So yeah, not a lot going on with Gamora, just the same entire figure, just with a new sword and a new head. Now Drax is as simple to explain. All I did was took the regular Lego arms, head, and torso and painted around all those red tattoos in a darker gray color and darker greenish gray color to make it look a lot more accurate to what he looks like in the movie. The legs are a lot different from the one I made back in May, except this time they're more blue and actually painted this time, because the ones I just used from the regular Lego set, and I didn't like those as much. So I just used this, painted this new design, and I based it off of MGF's design because I thought it looked as good, and at the time I didn't have an idea of what to go off of. So then these regular daggers were just painted in a silver color, and you can tell the little handles where it's painted blue are scraping off, but it doesn't really seem to mind me as much. Like I said, if you want a more detailed description of all these Guardians figures, go check out that showcase as well. And Rocket and the next couple ones are going to be a little bit more easier to explain. Now, as you can tell, Rocket's a more darker of a color. I painted him in a darker brown this time to make it look a lot more better. Gave him these brown hands that came with the Captain America set from the Infinity War Lego line. And then I painted the pauldron on him a little bit more yellow and brown and blue. So pretty much what I did was just wrap the entire figure into a brand new darker brown color, so that way it looks a lot more better. Now this gun that he has, you'll not see it in the movie. The thing is, when I made the April Fool's video, I didn't know what I was going to do for his weapon, so I just took this regular weapon that I painted up that I never got to use for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 showcase because I thought he would have this gun. I just took it because I thought it looked good, and I decided to give it to Rocket mainly because I didn't know what to do at this point. I didn't have a lot of these futuristic guns that I can just give my random figures like Groot and Rocket, so I decided to just give this to him, paint it up in a black color, and put some metallic blue highlights here and there. So Rocket's here. Now let's get on with the figure that you guys are probably most eager to see, Teen Groot. Okay, Teenage Groot is probably where I'm going to get the most comments of how did I make him. So, let me just start off by saying that the base I used for Teenage Groot, I made him completely out of a Lego droid. Now, these droids are from the Star Wars line, which I took from this other store that I had, from the store that was nearby. I took one of the droids, and I completely destroyed the figure. What I had to do was, I pretty much just destroyed the inside of the droid, and I sculpted everything all around. So this entire figure was sculpted by me. At this point, when I was making the Avengers Infinity War figures, I had no idea how I was going to do Groot until I realized that Groot is just super skinny, and I just couldn't make him into a regular torso piece like the rest of these figures, mainly because he's super skinny and so tall. So I decided to just sculpt everything on him by going off a base of a Lego droid. You can tell here that on his feet, that the droid was actually more of a khaki color before I sculpted everything on top. So what I did was sculpted everything on top of Groot, and then painted it all in a nougat color, and then put these random black lines with some green moss here and there. His eyes are taken from MGS because I thought they just looked amazing. So I just did that, gave him the same little smirk that he has there, and then did that. I did the same thing like I did for Winter Soldier by painting on his hands and putting glue around so the paint wouldn't scrape off. And actually, Groot's head is removable. If I go over here and just move it a little bit, you can tell that Groot, the little headpiece is actually this little, like, I don't know what to call it, this little joint or connector. I put it there because it's not usually like the other things that you use to stick on Lego heads. It's different. It's painted blue. I glued that inside of the torso and then sculpted around it and put a ton of glue on this thing just to make sure it wouldn't fall off. And because of this, I had to sacrifice the legs moving, so they're just one piece. It will not move, except for the arms. The arms can definitely move as well. If I were to take this over here, this moves a little bit up and down, and it's actually removable. As you can tell here, it was a blue droid, and then I painted that up and move this inside, and boom, it'll just stay like that. So yeah, Groot was really difficult to make, and I finished him in maybe about a week, mainly because it took a lot of sculpting, a lot of painting, and a lot of glue. So yeah, also have a big announcement between him and Rocket later on in the video. Also, one more thing, I absolutely had to make sure that Groot was not bigger than Thor. That was one thing I made sure to implement on this figure, to make sure that he wasn't that big. So because of this, I had to sand down on the little Lego piece that I actually used for the base of the Groot's head. I sanded it down a little bit more to make him a little bit more shorter, so that way he wouldn't be taller than Thor. Because like I said, Thor is just a giant of his own, so therefore it just was unacceptable to make Groot taller than him. So yeah, last thing I'm gonna say about Groot until I'll eventually move on to the last final figures. Mantis wasn't a big deal to make because I pretty much made her last year. All I did was some new edits. Now, as the new edits, you can probably tell is that there's a lot more metallic light green on her, especially on the arms, because last year I used a regular dark green, which now I just really don't like. So I decided to redo her up, and I did actually put this new I did actually carry on the hip piece, which I used for a lot of my female minifigures, now the curved torso, and what I did was just sand it off and paint a metallic green there so it doesn't look all weird, and just pretty much fix this figure up a little bit. The skirt is actually made out of paper this time, painted in a new design to make it look a lot more better, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot going on with Mantis, just some new green highlights and just new straps on her arm. So yeah, we're almost there, guys, with the final two figures, Nebula. Then we'll get on to the biggest figure you guys have been wanting to see for quite a while now. So not a lot was done in Nebula. All I did was just repaint the head a little bit more and added some parts where paint was chipping off. Like I said, most of these Guardians, there isn't really a lot to talk about them, mainly because they all wear the same suit. So if you guys have noticed why I've been not talking a lot about the Guardian figures so much and why their segment has been so quick and towards the end, it's because these figures are not new. You see them in the older video, which is why you guys already know how these look like. All I did was just paint on her face a little bit more metallic color, and gave her this baton because that's what she was using instead of a gun. And I also gave her finally the accurate color hand because before I had to paint that on. So yeah, not a lot going on with Nebula. Just, you know, if you, like I said, go watch the Guardian showcase because you'll see a more accurate description of how I made the Guardian figures besides Groot. So yeah, now let's move on to the biggest figure you guys have been wanting to see for quite a while now, and one figure that I did not know absolutely however I was gonna make. Let's go on and move on to Thanos. Alright, we're finally over with the Infinity War showcase, which is this last figure that took me an entire week, and which is why this showcase is so late. Thanos. My god. So, what I made Thanos out of was I took Lego's Thanos, I did not like it, and I sanded off all of the armor, like the little bits that were pointing out of his shoulders, and I sanded all of them off and sanded the armor so down so it was a little bit more skinnier, and sanded off the helmet and sculpted there. Harry sculpted that, did most of the sculpting stuff on the chest and on the head to make it look a lot more smoother, and as well as the back. Now what I did was just add the 3D elements and did all the painting. Now the hardest thing to do was to paint the head, so I decided to base this figure mainly off of McLovin's on Instagram. He'll leave his Instagram down in the description and his channel as well, so you guys can go check him out because he does a really good, he made a really good Thanos and actually made his Infinity Gauntlet light up, which you guys can go see there. Now for the base color, I used this light purple color. I was gonna use a darker one, but I eventually settled on this one mainly because it looked a lot more better. I painted the little armor that he has on his shoulders, just a royal gold color with some black details and some metallic brown details on as well. And then I also put these lighter blue gloss colors around his little shirt or tank top or whatever you want to call it. I made his belt entirely out of electrical tape, which a lot of the 3D elements on this figure are made out of electrical tape or clay. And for his skirt, I made it all out of blue electrical tape as well, and painted it all in a darker navy blue color for the base color of his skirt and his tank top or whatever you want to call it. For his boots, there's not a lot going on there. They're just painted up in a regular black color with some royal gold lacing across of it, and as well as his knee pads. Now for these purple lines that I have on there, they're just painted in a regular royal violet color that I did. Now for the main thing I know you guys really want to see is the Infinity Gauntlet, which, oh man, making this, I just barely finished it this week, and I did this in a day. So to describe what I did, Harry sculpted around this arm, sculpted around it, and painted all the details onto it. So if I move it up, if I turn it around as well, you can see that it's sculpted all around. I didn't do details there because you wouldn't see a lot of there going on anyway. So what I decided to do was paint this up in a mixture of a royal gold color, black metallic color, and a regular brown color, not a metallic brown, and just to get it to this mixture for the base color of the Infinity Gauntlet. Then I painted on these black details around, outlined them with a little bit more of a lighter gold, and then more of a darker royal gold. And now for the stones is what you guys are probably here to see. I decided to do what MGF did and to do pretty much get some regular transparent Lego pieces from different colors and cut them up into this shape, and I put some clay on there. As you can see, the little thicker parts, if I were to churn the Infinity Gauntlet like this, you can see there that there's some parts where it's clay and where the stones are sticking out. There was clay there, so that, and you can see it on the soul stone, especially the orange one, that it's protruding out a little bit more because the clay wasn't pressed down that much. But I'm still happy with how it turned out. And also you can see that on his fingers there's a little bit more of a detail there. For the green stone, or the time stone, I decided to use this green rod piece that I cut up there and glued it on there. Then for the purple one, I didn't have a lot of purple pieces, so I decided just to take some regular clear Lego piece and cut it up and then glued it on there and painted it in the purple color that I used for Black Panther, the last showcase for when I did his purple elements on his suit. The blue one, I just made it out of regular blue transparent pieces, and as well as the reality stone and the soul stone. Now for this new one, now you didn't see the mind stone in the middle of the figure at the beginning of the video, mainly because there's a skit at the end of the video, like all the other showcases, where Harry is actually going to be having this play a key role into it, so you're not going to see the mind gem in the skit at all until near the very end. But yeah guys, we're finally done with the showcase, so let's just wrap this up with the skit that Harry has been making for the past week. So yeah, let's get started.
You're strong, but I could snap my fingers and you'd all cease to exist.
Come at me, bro. You mad?
No! As long as one person is still standing, you will never win. Hey, loser, we can take you on. No Infinity Stone's gonna hold us back.
Yeah.
No, you idiots! What are you doing? You almost lost all the Infinity Stones!
Wait, what are you doing?
Vision, don't worry. Shuri has come up with an effective way to hide the stone. Here, wear this beanie.
Wait! No, it's okay. We can take him on. Right, Drax? Wait, no, not my arm again. Ah, Mrs. Stark, I got him.
Huh, fool. Huh?
Thanos, I swear I don't have what you're looking for. I'm not done with you, Titan. Charge! Where's my toy?
Finally, I have all the Infinity Stones.
Take that, Thanos.
Finally, I'm the most powerful being in the universe. Hey! Who hit me?
Fatty.
Well, there we go, guys. The end of the Infinity War showcase. Oh my god, dude. That was a lot. Alright, that was a lot of figures to make. I'm really tired. You guys will not believe the amount of time I've sacrificed when it comes to my personal life and school life just to, create all these figures. And it definitely took a while. I started making these back in February, so you could tell that the work eventually paid off in the past 2 months. So I'm really happy that this is all over now. And I am not selling the most of these figures, and I'll get into that in a bit. Or you know what, I might as well just say now. Usually when it comes to big showcases like this, I always tell myself that I'm not going to sell any of the figures because, as you can tell, these took just way too damn long to make. However, I'm willing to make the exception and sell 2 figures. So, and the 2 figures that I'll be selling are Groot and Rocket. Not the ones I have right now up on display, but I'll be making 2 new ones. Yes, that custom Groot and that custom Rocket. Because I have 2 duplicates that I bought because I bought 2 sets when it came to making the Infinity War figures. And I got 2 duplicates, so I'm just gonna sell them. And I don't know when or how I'm gonna be able to do this big giveaway or how it's gonna work and the prices yet, but eventually and just know, I for sure the prices are gonna be a little bit high, mainly because, especially for Groot, because of how much work it takes. But by the next video, maybe I'll figure out how I'm gonna sell them and how much each figure is gonna cost. And also, I created an Instagram. I'm gonna start using that a lot more because I mainly use Instagram a lot more than Twitter, like the one I have right now. But that'll be maybe a way I can get into business with some people if I want to make more figures, because I'm gonna be selling some of the easier to make figures, like maybe Hawkeye can get more figures to make him, or whatever he goes by now. But the point is, I'll be selling some figures that maybe I don't want anymore, or that are just super easy to make and I can finish and I can give them away to some people. Now, like I said, the prices are going to be a little bit high, mainly because it takes so long to make a figure like this. So, who knows? And we'll get to that more later on in the future. But for now, I'm just really tired with all this that's going on. I just want to rest. And I will say that now that this is all over, I am now going to be available to make a lot more videos, because I don't know if you guys noticed, for the past first half of the year already, it's just been nothing but showcases, and because big movies have been coming out left and right, and I've been having to make so many showcases for them. And Justice League is still going to get a showcase, okay? It's just that I made this my top priority. So, yeah, you can definitely see a lot more gaming videos from me and Harry, and more of those commentary videos as well. It's just that right now, I was just super busy making all this. So, I just hope that it all pays off in the end and that you guys really like these figures. So, yeah, now that all this Infinity War stuff is over, I can finally move on to other projects, which is my next project. Just might be Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then Venom, if we get a good look at his suit, maybe I'll make him. And, you know, just until the year goes by, then I'll make more figures, alright? So, yeah, I'm done talking. I'm about to go see the movie tonight. I'm really excited, and I am not emotionally prepared for all this because I grew up with all these characters. I mean, I was 5 years old when the first Iron Man came out, so this is gonna do something to me, to my psyche. It's gonna hurt me if one of the characters die. Captain America, I'm calling it that it's gonna be you right now, dude. I don't know, but all I know is that I'm not emotionally prepared, and instead of just stalling, I'm just gonna go watch the movie and end the showcase now. So I really hope that you guys really enjoyed the showcase and that you enjoyed these figures. Hit a like, hit that thumbs up button if you like these figures, or whatever you want to do. And I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for watching this video. And yeah, see you later, guys. I'm gonna go watch the movie, and I'll come back hopefully with a review the next day. So yeah, take care. See you guys.